And hello, everybody, and welcome here once again to the AZ Sports Box podcast. I'm Caleb Bouchy, being joined here by Henry Steiner, Nicole Pinter, and our guest co-host for this week, Wills Rice, which we will get to in a second. But I'm coming to you once again here from the ASU Cronkite Studios in downtown Phoenix. It is the week of June 10th, and of course, a slow start to the summer heat here, but it is really hot here in Arizona. But of course, we are being joined by co-hosts across the country. Henry, where are you coming to us? Where are you coming to us from once again?
I am here in the rainy, absolutely not beautiful Livingston, New Jersey.
Nicole?
I'm coming from an actually nice day. The sun's actually out in Vernon Hills, Illinois, hour north of Chicago.
Okay. And then for those of you who don't know, Wills Rice, me and him broadcasted in high school, play-by-play broadcasting, basically like a Kidstar radio reunion we have here. But Wills, where are you coming to us from on this podcast?
The land that holds the school, otherwise known as the Harvard of the West, sunny Tempe, Arizona. Best school in the nation, of course.
Well, it is great to have you here, especially since we got a member of the LA Sports Bureau here. It's really exciting. But let's jump right into it. The Arizona Cardinals recently dropped some news that their latest inductee into the Cardinals Ring of Honor, who joins Pat Tillman and Kurt Warner, legends like that. And the latest inductee is going to be former quarterback Carson Palmer. Palmer has had a few good seasons with the Cardinals. I mean, did he win a Super Bowl with the Cardinals? No, but he's obviously had an amazing football career. Is this a good idea for the Cardinals to be inducting Palmer?
I definitely think so. I mean, when you said, did he win a Super Bowl? Did anyone? I mean,
no.
If you take out Carson Palmer because of that reason, then you can't have anyone in there because, Cardinals have not won a Super Bowl. But Carson Palmer definitely had a career renaissance with the Cardinals. He brought them back into playoff relevance. Definitely kept Larry Fitzgerald happy for a few more years, especially when a lot of people thought he was going to go to New England, I know. Yeah, Carson Palmer has been a great player for the Cardinals. I feel like just an overall good guy. And I feel like people were rooting for him. He had a lot of injuries, but the time he was healthy, he was definitely productive. He did bring them back to the NFC Championship game, I think, and like 3 playoffs. And unfortunately, he was injured in one of those, which caused a terrible game with them and the Panthers, I think it was. But yeah, I think he definitely deserves it.
Oh, Nicole, what do you think of this?
No, I agree. I'm reading just some of the stats. .642 winning percentage, best in team history. Franchise single season record for passing yards, 4,671. Touchdowns, 35. Pass rating, 104.6. All of which he set in 2015. And I think he brought him back to relevance after they failed to win the Super Bowl against the Steelers. And Kurt Warner is gone. And, it was all kind of going downhill. He brought him back to relevance. The crazy games against the Packers. And, it didn't end the way I think any Cardinals fan or he wanted it to, but he definitely earned his right to be in the Cardinals Ring of Honor.
Wills, what do you think about this?
I'm pretty indifferent. I'm actually Carson Palmer has been one of my favorite Cardinals in a really long time. I have every single jersey color with Palmer on the back. But I think like when you look at it, you're supposed to wait a little bit, like to get into the Hall of Fame, for example. It has to be 4 years since you retired. I think we could have inducted some of some older Cardinal players like Darnell Dockett, Adrian Wilson. I don't know. I think a lot of the
Samuel.
Sorry,
wasn't Asante Samuel?
Asante.
Yeah, he was in that. Or also Cromartie.
Well, yeah, he wasn't on our team for very long. He was only on it for like 3 years. Adrian Wilson and Darnell Dockett were on it for like 10 years each. But no, but I think Carson Palmer got inducted strictly because, not strictly, but a lot of it was because of the man he was off the field as well. Darnell Dockett had a lot of issues with fans. He ended up losing the winners. But yeah, I think he was a great relationship with Bidwell to get into the Cardinals and Ring of Honor.
Okay. What is that noise in the background?
I have a landline.
Nice.
Someone leaving a message.
A few moments later.
Now, do we have any more discussion on this topic before we move on?
No.
All right, great. Now, let's move on to our next topic as we continue on to the sport of football. And we go to indoor football right now. The Arizona Rattlers played Tucson for the 7th time this season, it feels like. This was the final time, though.
Are you
They
being serious for a
played
second?
Tucson, and they played them at home. Tucson actually was really probably one of their best performances against the Rattlers this season. They were up they had a 21-point lead, but then the Rattlers came back, ended up taking the game into overtime. Quarterback Drew Powell was 13 of 20 for 158 yards and 4 touchdowns that game. Really impressive performance. They came back. And it all came down in overtime to a 2-point conversion. Kevin Guy, the head coach, pretty much risked it all. Was their undefeated record, and it paid off. They got the 2-point conversion, and they won, increasing their record to 13-0, undefeated. And, of course, Tucson is now eliminated from playoff contention. It is a 14 playoff system, so now a lot of spots are open. But obviously, this is a huge game. This is probably one of the best seasons I've seen. Like I said, of all Arizona sports, we've never really seen an undefeated record team since ASU football in the 1970s. But yeah, what were you guys' thoughts about this? The Rattlers continuing to be undefeated.
I saw the play on Twitter. It was a great play, awesome design, roll out to the right, and they ran it in for the 2. I feel like they're just a better team. A lot of these teams are new. I know Tucson, this is their first year in it. And so a lot of it will come with they kind of have an unfair advantage because they're one of the few teams who's been existed and has been established. But yeah, I feel like they're just continuing their dominance and exactly what we expected from them.
Anyone else?
I mean, I don't follow what was the Arena Football League is now the Indoor Football League like I used to, but I mean, this Arizona Rattler team is incredible. I mean, 13-0, clear favorites. So, I mean, it's all on the table for them.
And yeah, I'm not a fan like really at all, and I'm not going to act like I know anything. But anytime you're in a professional sport and you're 13-0, it's impressive, no matter what sport it is.
And no, yeah, this is just coming off. What was it, the week prior? We talked about this last week. When they were on the road against Cedar Rapids, they defeated them 56-0. This is an indoor football league. The league is designed the style of play to not have shutouts. So to have a shutout like that and do it on the road, that's quite impressive to do. And this team has just been really impressive. I wouldn't be shocked we see them win the championship at home this year. So who knows? But let's move on straight to our next topic. And Nicole, why don't you take over the mantle on this next topic that we're going to talk about?
All right, the FIFA Women's World Cup started on Friday, June the 7th, with France defeating South Korea 4-0, France being the host. But coming into this, the U.S., the reigning World Cup champs, they are favorites, 7-2 favorites to win, with the host team, France, being close seconds and 7-4 odds. Germany, I know, is a team that's not far. So we're on day 4, and Argentina and Japan is the early game today. That ended 0-0. That is over. But U.S. starts tomorrow against Thailand, who's considered one of the worst teams coming into this World Cup, tomorrow at 2. I believe that is Central Time. So we're just getting started, but it looks like it should be a good round of matches, good round of just play. And I mean, U.S. team considered pretty much unstoppable.
Oh, so so it looks like I believe U.S. has they're the top favorite. Do you think that? And this question goes out to all of you guys. Do you think Team USA could pull off a back-to-back World Cup title in the Women's World Cup?
I mean, yeah, why not?
Besides France, I really don't see anyone that could really challenge them. I mean, I don't remember exactly, this is off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure they won like 6-1 in the World Cup final 4 years ago. Something ridiculous. They destroyed. I believe it was
It was Japan, yeah.
They destroyed. I mean, they have a lot of the same players. They lost some leadership, but I mean, the women's soccer in the United States is far and away better than so many other countries.
And they're also better than the men's soccer. I mean, I'm a very strong believer in that the women's national team is the best national team America has, aside from maybe men's basketball. Yeah, men's basketball. But yeah, the women's soccer team is absolutely dominant. I think they've won 3 World Cups, which is, I mean, the men's hasn't even made it past the semis or the quarters. And yeah, the women's have won 3 World Cups within the span of, I think, 50 years?
Not exactly sure. Sounds right.
I mean, yeah, I think the only real test, I think Germany's a pretty solid team. The only game I've been able to watch in full so far was the France game, and they were just so in sync. I mean, they were just incredible. South Korea is not a bad team. So they dominated that game. So it was France is going to give them a test, but US, why not? Why not repeat?
All right. Now I've been a little unhooked on the topic because I just got some breaking news. We are going to talk about this in a few minutes, but it looks like the Arizona Coyotes are about to announce their new majority owner. This really determines the future of the franchise of them staying in Arizona. So we're going to keep on this. But we will move on to some other news that was announced, was it a week ago? The college football, NCAA setup, or whoever does the bowl alignments, have announced the new bowl game setup that will go into effect in the 2020 college football season. A lot of big changes are happening, especially with the Pac-12 bowls. Some of the bowls are getting switched up when it comes to matchups. There are going to be some new bowl games we heard. So, but let's get right into it. The biggest change we're going to see is the Las Vegas Bowl. So, of course, it is currently, I think, one of the lowest bowl games to be played for a Pac-12 team. They play the winner of the Mountain West. And, of course, the game is scheduled to, 2 weeks after the regular season concludes.
Mm-hmm.
So we heard, the announcement came that they're going to lose their Mountain West tie-in. They're going to keep the Pac-12. But in return, they are going to get a SEC or a Big 12 team. And of course, the biggest change is that the Las Vegas Bowl is going to move to the new Raiders Stadium. And they are going to move the game to a post-Christmas date. What are your guys' thoughts about this, on these major changes?
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I actually love watching Mountain West teams. And they've actually had ASU's number in the last few, because I think ASU was in the Las Vegas Bowl. And they're actually...
Oh, yeah, against Fresno State.
Yeah, Fresno State. Is that that's where Boise State is, I think, as well. I didn't quickly look it up, but yeah, they're a good division, and so that kind of sucks because they don't have a lot of clout, I guess. They don't really have a lot of people enamoring for them to be in a lot of bowl games, and so Las Vegas Bowl was one of the few things that they have or had. Now they don't have it, but it will be kind of nice to see some new Pac-12 versus SEC or Pac-12 versus other conferences. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but seeing LSU Arizona would definitely be a pretty big draw for me. I feel like that's something that would be pretty interesting, or some sort of Texas A&M versus Utah. I don't know, something there that could happen.
I actually have a correction. It's Big Ten or SEC. So maybe teams like Ohio
Michigan, bring back Michigan. Have Ohio State versus Arizona, in a battle of teams I hate.
It basically could be another Rose Bowl matchup, or the Pac-12 versus SEC, which is something I think a lot of people have wanted to see. SEC teams don't usually play teams out west, unfortunately. But that is trying to get changed. Looking at the other matchups, the Alamo Bowl will stay at its ranking. The second best Pac-12 team will get that bowl game, and they will, of course, play a Big 12 team. Another new bowl game is currently the working title is the Los Angeles Bowl. I don't know if you guys saw the update. The Rams Stadium is currently near 70% complete or 80%.
That
Look,
was faster than they expected.
yeah, looks beautiful. Can't wait for this stadium. It's gonna be state of the art. They're gonna get their own bowl game, and that is basically gonna be the new Las Vegas Bowl. So the fourth best Pac-12 team is gonna play, assuming the number one team in the Mountain West. So looks like we won't technically see the Pac-12 lose their bowl game tie-ins with the Mountain West. But what are you guys' thoughts about that? Especially with the new Rams Stadium moving on, and new Raiders Stadium, it's gonna look amazing.
I personally think that bowl games are getting. I love seeing matchups that you normally wouldn't see, and I'm all about that. But I think there are so many teams that get into bowl games now that are just not worth it. 6-6, like how many of those bowl games have you just never heard of those teams that play the first? Like I know I fill out like the college bowl game, like pick them every year, or whatever. He's pick and like for maybe 20 of the games, I just select random sides of which teams that I've heard of and which teams that I haven't. I just think the more they add bowl games, the less quality of games they're going to have.
I tend to disagree with that. Excuse me, just because I think bowl games are fun. It's just college, a lot of college kids that probably aren't going to get to the pros, getting to play, and it's like, oh, they're not really playing for anything. Well, that's not how they see it.
That's so that everyone gets a participation medal theory.
Yeah, which I agree with that, but I still think, I don't think we need to add any more, but I do like that they're changing up who plays who, the conference tie-ins. I like that they change that every once in a while, just because sometimes it's like, oh, Michigan and Florida again or something, which we've gotten
For what, 30
so many times, so it's like.
I'm gonna definitely agree with that, because also it's a way for NFL scouts. I know bowl games are one of the highest things on their list because they're versing different types of competition. For example, I know Big 12 scouts, they normally will disregard a lot of passing stats because Big 12 is known for having a lot of lackluster defensive backs and defense in general. And so when you see that Big 12 teams such as Oklahoma do good against a non-Big 12 team such as Ohio State or any type of like Big 10 or any other conference, then that's what a lot of scouts use as well. And so I feel like it's a good way to kind of see the actual pure talent someone has, sort of like what the Senior Bowl does. But now you have another option. And first of all, as a gambling man, I really do enjoy like even just those, like, if you put $1 on every single game with your friends or something. I enjoy doing that, the pick 'em and filling that out. And I feel like as long as you don't add too many, if you just rearrange the structure, that would be enough.
But didn't they add more this year, not rearrange it?
I think they just rearranged. I think they only added like 1 or 2.
And that's because of just new stadiums being built. But I think, and the funny thing about the Rams stadium is that it's also the Chargers stadium, but like it's in the shape of the Rams logo. I just think that's funny.
Well, yeah,
Crunky.
It's going to be amazing. That stadium is not only going to host a Super Bowl in, what is it, 2022, I believe?
No, not 22. 2023.
What?
2023.
No,
the draft.
That's Arizona. So 2022 is when.
Yeah, that's 22. I was thinking of the draft.
Not only that, they're going to be hosting the Olympics. I believe the opening and closing ceremony is going to be there when U.S. hosts the Olympics in 2028, which obviously is not going to be for a long time. But looking at these other bowl game matchups, and one thing that's also appealing to me, we all know the Sun Bowl has a tie-in to the ACC conference with the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is also the Holiday Bowl is now going to add an ACC tie-in, so it looks like they're getting rid of their Big 10, or what was it, Big 12, or is it Big 10 tie-in?
I knew we were Holiday Bowl for a while, unless it changed.
Yeah, it did change. So it's going to be Pac-12 versus ACC.
No, because it was Northwestern Utah last year, so it was Big 10.
Yeah, so the Independence Bowl will also have a tie-in with the ACC with the Pac-12. So was it the Pac-12 is not going to have 1, but 3 bowl tie-ins, the ACC, which is pretty interesting. I definitely like seeing ACC Pac-12 matchups, except if you see ASU get destroyed against a team like North Carolina State in the Sun Bowl. But that's ASU football, unfortunately, is for some years. Hopefully that won't be the case this year. But yeah, moving on. All right. Now let's go outside the AZ sports box and talk about some news going on outside the Valley. And we start with the NHL Stanley Cup Final, Game 6. It was a very historic, what was supposed to be a very historic game at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis. The Blues, after being one of the longest teams existed in the NHL, were looking to clinch their first ever title in franchise history. Were they going to do it? No.
They jinxed
Absolutely
themselves.
not. Boston denied them completely with a 5-1 blowout. Tutka Rask and Brad Marchand really stepped up for the Bruins and became the leaders of this game with a 5-1 win for the Bruins. And on top of that, the series is going back to Boston for Game 7. No matter who wins, that Stanley Cup is coming out, and someone is going to be hoisting it by the end of the night. Gosh, it's been an incredible series, just going completely back and forth. What are your guys' thoughts about this, especially looking back at Game 6?
Well, you saw the Blues kind of jinx themselves. They have posted a couple.
And she lagged.
She lagged.
Congratulating them on when the owner had written a letter. They had already planned the parade. Like, it's just not good. It's such a St. Louis thing to do.
God, can we have you repeat your answer because you lagged for like 5 good seconds?
And then it all came at once. Very comical, but
Okay, so they posted ads that congratulated the Blues on winning the cup. Their owner had written. Am I lagging again?
No.
You're good now.
Okay. Their owner had posted a letter congratulating them. They had already planned the parade down, I think they said like Market Street or something. Just not a good look. And Bruins won 5-1. Dominated.
Do that. I think Miami did that as well when
Yes.
the year they played Dallas in the finals and they ended up losing to the title to Dallas in Miami. That was hilarious.
Oh yeah, I think it's hilarious.
So
I mean, I feel like that was pretty funny, but I still feel the Blues will win. This series has literally been a whole bunch of momentum shifts. Like every single game that Boston has won, I think, has been a blowout. I don't think Boston has won a single non-game. I think Boston's won every single game by at least 3 points, except for the first one, which they came back from a huge deficit. And I feel like the Blues are going to bounce back just like they've been doing the entire season. I feel like that's kind of the narrative of this playoffs of this entire year is that the Blues bounce back.
And I was going to say the same point. I think this series has been really interesting because I think St. Louis has showed a lot of grit. I think in the games that Boston has won, they've been a lot more physical. It's just kind of shown, like when St. Louis has won, they've all been great games. It could have gone either way. When Boston has won, they just look like the better team, and you know, like they're out there, like last night, I believe it was 6-1, 5-1. I don't even remember. I turned 5. Yeah, I turned it off before it finished because it was a blowout, and it was just like Boston looks like the better team, but then they go out and when they lose the games, you just like, where is that same team that showed up when they were blowing them out? And I think a really interesting stat. I forgot exactly what it was. I heard it this morning that the Boston goalie in elimination games these playoffs is like. They're like 3-0, and he's averaging like 1.2 goals against in elimination games, which is that's how you win championships.
I do feel like this is going to be a very low scoring game. I feel like it's going to be like a almost 2-1 type. I feel like it's going to come right down to the wire. I think the game is played in 2 days. It's going to be a very, very exciting game.
All right, quick predictions as we close. Who's going to win it all? Who's going to be hoisting the cup in Boston on Game 7?
I'm going to say the Blues do it. Final score, let's go with 3-2.
3-2. Nicole?
I'm gonna go with Boston. They're back home. Momentum's on their side. I know this game or the series has been about momentum shifts, but it's been 127 days since Boston last had its championship. They're suffering. They want another championship.
There are 3 months old in Boston who have never seen a parade other than Memorial Day.
What are they gonna do? They're back home. Clearly momentum's on their side, and I think going back home, if they were in St. Louis, I think I'd say St. Louis despite the momentum shift, but they're in Boston. They're not going to lose. They're not going to lose at home. I'm going to go final score kind of similar, 5-2.
Gosh. I will say, though, this isn't the first time that Boston has hosted a series determining game for the Stanley Cup final. But just know this wouldn't be the first time they choke on their home ice, because what was it, 2013 Stanley Cup final? They were up by like 2 goals in the third period. I think they were about to win the Stanley Cup final, by the way, and they blew the lead,
won that game,
and gave the cup to Chicago on their home ice.
Oh yeah, no, I remember that. They 100% should have won that game, but I don't care.
No, a few times I was rooting for Boston.
It was so much fun.
It would be the first time Boston has choked on their home ice.
But let's not pull a St. Louis and jinx them again. So, you know?
True. Very true. But like I said, St. Louis would be the first team to hoist the cup on Boston's ice. So obviously it's a scene fans usually don't like seeing. Fortunately, as a sports fan, you hate seeing it, especially what was it, the Arizona Rattlers with the Rainbow 24. That sucked to watch Jacksonville win the title and hoist the trophy. Not always a fun thing to see, especially Vegas last year watching the Capitals hoist the cup on their home ice. Was the World Series, the Dodgers watching the Red Sox hoist the trophy on their home field.
That's okay though.
But I think in some ways, majority of fans across the country were okay with that, because it was the second time in a row that the Dodgers lost the series to a team on their home field. So second year in a row. Wills, what is your final score prediction?
Boston wins 3-1. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to be 2-1 up until the end. I think Boston scores an empty netter to secure a 3-1 final.
Ooh, that's going to be interesting. Exciting to watch. All right. Now, before we get into our new segment, I want to get through this segment. We know Nicole has to go here in a few minutes.
Oh, shoot, yeah.
The Diamondbacks, they just wrapped up a recent series against the Toronto Blue Jays and completely sweeping them 3-0 in all 3 of those games. Now tonight, they're going to be playing Bryce Harper and the Philadelphia Phillies on the road as they will continue. So yeah, how do we think following that Toronto shutout, how the DBacks are going to perform against the Phillies tonight?
I feel like they're going to lose the series, but I feel like they will take a game at least. The Bryce Harper Phillies, while they are first in their division, I feel like they've been fairly disappointing. Not the dominant super team that we all thought they could have been. And so I feel like the Diamondbacks are just a solid, like fundamentally solid team where they can even take the series. I don't think it's going to be a sweep either way, but I think they could definitely take a game or 2.
Nicole?
Yeah, being in Philly, I think, they're coming off 3-4 actually really good games. I think Philly's going to bring them back down to earth again. But I think I'm with Henry. I think they take a game. I don't think they win the series or anything. But I think they take a game. I think they have solid performances. I don't think it's anything they should hang their heads down. I mean, but I think the Phillies definitely bring them back down to earth.
Wills, what do you think about this?
I think they win 2 or 3. They have 2 rookies going. They have Taylor Clark tonight, John Duplantier tomorrow, and I believe Greinke is supposed to be the 3rd game. So I think
Greinke is supposed to pitch.
That Greinke one's going to be not automatic win, but you really like your odds against no matter who you're playing. And I think they just have to win 1 or 2. So I think they're going to take 2 or 3. They're on a 4-game win streak right now. They're hitting the ball really well, which has been their problem of May in the last month. So I think if they score a few runs, the rookie pitchers have pitched phenomenal for them. So I think they're going to take 2 or 3.
All right. Now we're going to continue a little bit on that baseball discussion with the Phillies, because it's time for a brand new segment here to our show. A little bit like rapid fire, but more head to head and just straight on debating. And that is going to be our debate battle. And for our first ever matchup, it is going to be Henry versus Wills. So how this game will work is it's going to be 3 questions. You guys will each get 2 chances to speak. So a refutation, which is going to basically be attacking someone else's point, and then rebuttal, which will be defending your point. So you guys get the game. 20 seconds each on talking about it. And then, of course, hopefully we'll go from there. So do we understand the rules?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then of course, Nicole, you can help me moderate and see
All
each debate. But let's start it off. First question, and like I said, it's kind of continuing off of the Phillies discussion. Was Bryce Harper worth his $300 million plus contract when he went to Philly? So, who wants to go first? 20 seconds on the refutation. And Henry?
Yeah, I'm gonna go right now and say no. Bryce Harper is right now performing at a below average, like not below average, but he's been a very normal player. Reese Hoskins, another player on the Phillies, who is on a fraction of the contract, is right now outperforming him. Bryce Harper is barely batting under, I think, 240. He's right around there.
Time. Don't worry. I mean, you'll still get more chances to speak. But Wills, let's go to you next on your refutation. You got 20 seconds.
I'll make the argument for yes. They're in first place in the NL East. They're selling out almost every game when they bring in a big name player like that. We saw the same thing with the Diamondbacks when we brought in Greinke. We had our attendance spike. Their jersey sales have gone up. So I think for money-wise as a franchise, and they're in first place, if he starts playing to his superstar potential, it's only the sky's the limit.
All right. Now, Nicole, this is where we'll decide points. Whoever wins the refutation is 1 point. Rebuttal is 1 point. Whoever wins the whole debate is 2 points. Nicole, who do you think won that refutation?
I mean, I'm personally not a huge Bryce Harper fan, but if I'm going based off debate, I'm going to have to give it to Wills here because they are first in the NL East. If he does play up to his potential, the sky is the limit. He's just not there right now. I mean, it's still June. I know we're starting to inch closer to October, but still got a lot of time left.
Oh, that's a really good point. Now, moving on to rebuttals on the same question. So just defending your points. And Henry, I guess we'll let you continue speaking on your rebuttal. You got 20 seconds, though. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, we're not talking about potential. We're talking about right now. And right now, he's batting 250, which is not a very good thing for that kind of money. He's being right now one of the highest paid players, such as Manny Machado, but he's not making the same sort of impact. If we're talking about money made for the franchise, then sure. But as far as just a solid impact, we're not talking about his potential. We're talking about what he's done this season, and he has been an average player at best.
All right, time. Used up all your time, Wills?
Sorry?
Will's rebuttal.
Yeah, I mean, but we are talking about potential. The contract is he worth it? He is worth it because his $300 million isn't going to him this year. It's worth over his 10-year deal. So, I mean, I think definitely we are talking about potential and what he can do. I would say it would be 100% a failure if they were 5 games out of first place right now. But, I mean, jersey sales and seats alone, I think, are what's worth it right now.
Oh, all right, time. Now, I think, what do you think, Nicole? On going off of rebuttals, that just those past 2 talking points, do you think Henry had more of the facts on his side for that one?
I mean, he had more of the facts, but I kind of have to go with Wills here just because this is a 10-year contract, and we're talking about the first 2 months of the season, and I completely unbiased. Like I said, I'm not a Harper fan. I do have to go with Wills just because of what he could do. He might not ever hit that, but there's still 9.5 years left on his deal. So,
no, I may have to overrule
it in the first 2 months.
May have to overrule that because usually we want to push more facts and less opinions. So I will give the rebuttal to Henry, but I am going to give, to Nicole's point, I'm going to give Wills the win of the debate. So, which will make the score 2-1. So it's going to be an interesting game here. Now, on to our next question, and I'm really excited about this one because, Henry, you talked about Harry Kane when Alex Rodier was on our show last week. And, of course, he is up in the airplane right now in the friendly skies. So hopefully he can hopefully you'll be able to see this. But is soccer player Harry Kane one of the top players in England or let alone maybe the world? I don't know.
I'm gonna let Willis go first. I'm very curious to hear what he has to say.
This is gonna be interesting. We'll give 30 seconds for this one. And Henry, to do your refutation, that's attacking Will's point. You have 30 seconds.
I'm gonna let Willis go first for this one. I went first for the last one, and I'm very curious to see what he has to say.
Okay, Wills, you have 30 seconds just to attack Henry's point. And, you know,
He hasn't made it. I'm going to make my point first.
okay, go ahead.
All right, so I think absolutely not in Europe. I'd say maybe in England alone, but not in Europe. I could name, if you give me like a minute, I can name 10 top players off the top of my head. I listened to the segment last week where Henry said if Harry Kane was in the Champions League final that they would have won. Harry Kane actually started the game, played 60 minutes, and they lost 2-0. And they got dominated. Not one single player drove past Virgil van Dijk. So absolutely not.
All right, 5 seconds to spare. Henry, what are your do you disagree with that?
Yeah, I definitely disagree with that. Harry Kane was still coming off of injury. He wasn't at his best. And this is a guy who, again, he was one of the best players in the Premier League. At one point during last year, he scored 13 goals in 8 games during September, which is just unheard of. He won the Golden Boot for the World Cup, and he brought England to the third place game, which is farther than they have gone in how many years? Harry Kane has done that. And while they did have a great team, Harry Kane is the striker, and he was also voted as the #1 striker out of 100 for 2018.
Now, what you just said, I actually may have to deduct a point from Henry because he had a false fact. Is Harry Kane really one of the best players in the Premier League? Or are we talking about the Champions League?
Premier League. Hotspurs.
Is Harry Kane playing in the Premier League?
Yeah, he's right. Champions League's a tournament. Premier League's like the English league. Champions League is a tournament.
Okay, so he didn't get any facts wrong.
No, his facts are right.
Okay, just making sure. I know Alex Rodier pointed this out last week that he was talking Premier League in the Champions League final. That the Champions League final was the Premier final when those evolved.
It was just 2 Premier Leagues playing in the Champions League. Teams playing in the Champions League final.
All right, no point deduction. Moving on, rebuttal. You guys. Nicole, who do you think won this reputation?
I mean, I don't know a whole lot about soccer or football, so I don't know how much I can't really say a lot. So, Caleb, you score this one.
Gosh. I mean, from what Will said, Harry Kane did play some minutes in the game, so I don't know. It really just came down to, like I said, facts over opinion. I'm going to have to give it to Wills in this one for the reputation. So that makes the score 3-1. But that could all change here in the rebuttals. So Henry, do you want to go first in the rebuttals? You have 30 seconds.
I'll go second. Again,
all right, Wills, you go first in the rebuttal. Now, defending your point.
Yeah, so a lot of the stats he gave were good stats. Like he was voted #1, but a lot of those stats came within 1 year. I know the World Cup was last year, but when he was doing amazing things, those were all over very short periods of time. I agree. He's one of the best finishers in the world. He's great around goal. But as a natural striker that helps in every aspect of the game, he's very average in anything else. Athleticism, everything else. He's no Ronaldo. He's no Messi. He's no Dybala. He's no Griezmann. Any of those players I would take on my team over him and on any given day.
All right, time. Henry?
I'm going to go with as a striker. Again, what's the whole point of soccer is to score goals. He's a deadly striker. He's the top of his class. If you quote Matthias Masalo, he doesn't have that swagger. If you've seen the Champions on Bleacher Report, one of the reasons, he's a very bland person. But as a player, he's amazing. FIFA, which, again, a lot of people might not agree with, but he has a 90 overall rating. He is a monster. And a lot of people will say that he is an amazing player. And Harry Kane you can't say that he's not one of the best players in England. We're
not talking about England. We're talking about Europe.
No, we're talking about England.
All right. Actually, so I know obviously let's just have 20-second conclusions just to conclude you guys' point. Henry, since you keep going second, we're going to make you go first on the conclusion.
All right. My conclusion is that we are talking England. The script says England. The question is England. We're not talking Europe. If we are talking Europe, I still think that Harry Kane is there. Again, if you go just off FIFA ratings, which I know aren't the perfect thing, there's no one else with that high. There's not 10 other players. But we are talking about England, and he is one of, if not the best player in all of England.
All right. Wills?
I think if you're arguing a player's how good he is off his FIFA ratings, there's a lot wrong with that. Okay, even in England, there's Sergio Aguero, Salah, even Mane. I'd probably rather take over just for his athleticism and speed. I think Tottenham's a very good team game, and that's why they run it through Harry Kane, so he gets a lot more opportunities.
All right, this is going to be a tough call. But Nicole, just going off a rebuttal and conclusion, who do you think?
I mean, if like Henry said, we're just talking England, I mean, Will says a point of not, taking someone's FIFA rating. But I'm going to give it to Henry just, if we're talking about just England based on just what I've heard. Like I said, I don't know pretty much a lot. I don't know a lot, but I'm going to go with Henry on this one.
All right, so we'll give it to Henry, making the score 2-3. However, who won the whole debate, Nicole?
What?
Who do you think won the whole debate?
I'm going to have to give it to Will again. I know, same person I've said this pretty much both of them, but yeah, like I said, I don't know a lot, so it's kind of hard for me.
I think Will's had some pretty impressive stats.
You didn't say any stats. You didn't say a single stat.
Wait, are you sure?
Yes.
Or no. He was talking about his FIFA rankings.
I was talking about the FIFA rankings.
Caleb. The question is on.
You didn't say a single stat the entire thing. I had no idea what you were talking about, Caleb. I was the one who mentioned the goals. I was the one who mentioned all the stats. I mentioned how he was rated number 1 by other players in the FIFA rankings as strikers for 2018 and the Golden Boot.
I'm going to overrule that. Will's predicted all the stats. He gave so many. I'm joking. No. I just want to see your reaction, honestly, because it was just so hilarious seeing you freak out. We're going to give that debate to Henry. That makes the score 4-3, and Henry will lead it. Only because he presented more facts than opinion.
No, it's 3. It should be 3-3 if we're going based off the same score structure.
Yeah, should be 3-3.
Okay, 3-3.
The winner takes all.
Yeah,
I like it. That's not bad. All right, now moving into our third and final question. You guys have to be divided on this one. Is Giannis a better player than Kevin Durant in the NBA? Unfortunately, Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks came up short this year against the Toronto Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals. However, judging off of his performance this season, and of course in this question, I guess, do we want to judge off of what he did this past season or his entire career?
We're going based off entire career, I think, because this year I think it's very obvious Giannis won the MVP. So I think both of us would go to Giannis. So I think we have to go overall as in best player for career.
Okay, so
I could argue Kevin Durant this season.
Okay, so question: is Giannis a better player than Kevin Durant? And this is going off of overall in the NBA. And who wants to go first? 20 seconds.
I don't care if you want me to go first. Then
all right.
Wait. You said that you could argue Kevin Durant for just for just this season?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, then we'll do that.
Good.
All right. So, I mean, just because you're in the MVP conversation doesn't mean you're the best player. Do you think certain players, do you think there's people that are better than James Harden? He's probably going to get number 2. Kevin Durant's on a team where they have many superstars. They share the ball. He's not going to get those stats, the MVP stats. I think we've seen in the playoffs what the team without him has done and what they're going to do with him, what they have been with him. I think they've been awful.
All right. Time. Henry? You have 20 seconds.
Yep. I think if you're just talking about this year, Giannis is the MVP. MVP goes to most valuable. So I don't know how you can argue against him being the best player this year when he will be the MVP. He averaged 27.7 points, 12 rebounds, and almost 6 assists while shooting an unbelievable 58% from the field. Kevin Durant had none of those stats. And
sorry, I cut you off.
All right. That's time. I will say Henry is doing really good with the facts so far. Kevin Durant, though, has had more years experience, but none of them really pointed that out. Nicole, what do you think? Who wins the refutation?
I think if we're talking about just this season, I'm going to go with Henry just because of the MVP conversation. I know that doesn't necessarily mean best players, but Kevin Durant didn't have those numbers. Then again, they both are different on their respective teams. They play different roles. So you have it there. But I mean, if we're talking about just this season, Giannis was unstoppable. I mean, we couldn't stop talking about him for a reason.
Okay. So you're saying give it to Henry on the reputation?
Yeah.
All right, then we'll give it to Henry on the reputation and make it 4-3. However, there are still 3 points up for grabs.
2
or 2. Or do we want to do 2? Usually, well, the rebuttal and the main conclusion of the debate. But moving into rebuttal, Henry, we're going to make you go first. 20 seconds.
I haven't closed out one of these yet. So here's what I'm going to say. A lot of people were arguing that, again, Steph Curry, without Kevin Durant, the Warriors were 29-1 this entire season without Kevin Durant. Obviously, this is the NBA Finals. That has changed. But if we're talking the regular season, and as far as Giannis made it, the Warriors, Steph Curry was not anywhere near as explosive without Kevin Durant, whereas the Bucks without Giannis were basically, they were almost...
All right, I just had to mute him because he just keeps talking. Hilarious. I didn't know I can do that. It's like basically a real life around the horde. I've tried to find some other way to unmute him. Wait, I'll say it. Gosh.
You cannot silence me.
There we go. That was hilarious because you went overtime. Yeah, just so you know, anyone that goes overtime now will get muted. Wills, you have 20 seconds on the rebuttal.
All right, I'm gonna root that stat. I mean, we've seen the Golden State Warriors along with the San Antonio Spurs. They sit out players all the time. They select games that they want to sit out players, whether it's against the Suns or the worst teams in the NBA. So that stat is skewed. We're showing it in the NBA Finals why Kevin Durant is so important. They won one game and it was by the skin of their teeth. And I mentioned on the NBA on the MVP that does not.
Nicole, do we want to have conclusions on this one?
I mean, if you want to, I'm down.
All right, we'll do conclusions, but Wills, you have to go first.
All right, that's my point. All right, the MVP conversation is not just saying like who is better. He had a better statistical season. That's because he doesn't have 3 other All-Stars around him. They actually 4 technically, if you count Iguodala, who's a former All-Star. The MVP is because he has the best stats this season. If we're talking about best player, most dominant player on the court, it's Kevin Durant.
All right, 20 seconds. Henry, you have 20 seconds to make your conclusion. Please do not try to go overtime, or you will get muted. Yeah, go ahead.
Giannis is the most dominant player. He was the people who everyone focused on. He brought his other players like Chris Middleton and Eric Bledsoe to this all-star caliber player, and he was the MVP. While he didn't have those pre-made stars, he made his own stars.
5 seconds to spare. Not bad, not bad. So, Nicole, I'll just let you judge the whole thing on not just rebuttal, but the whole debate. But just going off of rebuttal and conclusion, who wins it?
This one's kind of tough because I was actually First Take debated this morning, and Stephen A went with KD, Max went with Giannis. I think, I'm with Wills on, MVP doesn't mean best player, but Giannis did have a dominating factor on the Bucks, and obviously, like I said, they both play different roles on their teams. So him being most valuable player to his team makes sense. But I mean, Wills has a point. Kevin Durant, like we're talking about how big of a deal it is. He's even coming back in the finals. And if KD comes back and they still lose, what does that mean for him? And would Giannis be asked these questions? No, probably not. So I kind of have to go with Wills here. Kind of change my mind a little bit on that.
Okay, so we'll give the rebuttal and conclusion to Wills, making it a tie game, 4-4. Do we want to judge off of the whole debate who won the debate, or should we do a bonus question to decide it all?
Michael,
I'm down with the bonus question.
Or
I think I'd win the whole debate overall.
we'll have to leave.
It's either deadlock or we just judge off of the whole debate.
Let's judge off the whole debate because I have to go too.
All right.
Okay, so Nicole,
I think I'd win it. So
who are you gonna favor? We're just gonna give the decision to you.
I'm gonna give it to Wills. I think he had better arguments. I think, especially in this last debate.
I forgot.
Sorry, Henry.
For questions. So.
Wait, what?
The Brett Gardner question, it's pretty hard to argue that he's worth it, but
Yeah, right now, but you had good points.
So with that concludes our first ever debate battle, and Wills has won the debate battle, the first ever one,
Sorry, Henry.
5-4. Well done though by both of you. Henry is a good fight though. So
I'll get him eventually.
all right, so we're going to continue this with another matchup next week. But one quick thing before we wrap up here, and Nicole, I know you wanted to point this out, another what to watch for, and I'll let you take the floor. What are we going to want to watch tomorrow, or is it today?
Well, it's going on. Part of it's going on right now is the College World Series. 6 tickets have been punched. We're still waiting on 2. It looks like I'm looking at my TV. It's on right now. Auburn put up 13 runs in the first inning against number 14 North Carolina. Still 13-3, bottom of the 6th. So Auburn is looking to punch the 7th ticket, and then in about a half hour, Ole Miss or Arkansas will look to punch to the 8th and final ticket. But so far, the teams in right now are Louisville, Vanderbilt, who their pitcher had a no-hitter the other night, Florida State, who went the distance with LSU last night, Texas Tech, Mississippi State, and then Michigan, who took out number 1 seed.
Number 1 team.
Yeah, and they almost should have won the second game. But so exciting stuff. Auburn, North Carolina is actually on right now on ESPN2. Looks like they're going to wrap that up. Ole Miss, Arkansas right after that. College World Series will start first game this Saturday, 1 p.m. I would guess that's Eastern time on ESPN.
An interesting Michigan stat. Michigan is the first team to make a New Year's Six Bowl, to make the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament, and make the College World Series in the same season.
Yeah, big stuff for Michigan. They're one of the first Big Ten teams too in quite a while. So knocking out the number 1 seed.
And to knock out UCLA, who a lot of people had winning the entire College World Series.
Yeah, and pulling from Pac-12, no Pac-12 teams are left. So they're all gone. UCLA and Stanford both lost last night.
Very impressive. Also, one more thing. Women's World Cup, Team USA, when are they playing?
They play tomorrow, I believe, 12 West Coast time, so that'd be 3 East Coast time. I could be wrong. But USA, Thailand, that is tomorrow. Then game 1 for US on their way to the Women's World Cup championship, hopefully.
All right. Henry. Figured out. Great. All right. That is going to do it. Wills, thank you so much for being on here. We're going to have you on more often.
Thanks for having me.
All right. That is going to do it for the AZ Sports Box podcast. For Henry Steiner, Nicole Pinter, and Wills Rice, I'm Caleb Bouchy saying goodbye for now. We hope to see you back here, same place, same time next week. We'll see you.